All right, let's get started. It is 9 p.m. Eastern, because Eastern is a word, standard time, y'all. Welcome to A Secret to Tell, where I do ASMR, mukbang, whatever you call it. And y'all get to hear this amazing true crime story from me. All right, today, like I don't know how to start my own show off. ASMR is autonomous sensory meridian response. That's what ASMR stands for. It's like bubble pop and like the crunching of leaves or the crunching of chicken. Any sound that is made that gives your brain a massage, is that's just what ASMR is. It's like a brain massage. Like this sound is soothing to your brain. And then mukbang is Asian inspired. You typically have a lot of food in front of you and you just stream. Um, Asian inspired. I love watching mukbangs and stuff on YouTube. And before we get started, what are your favorite crime shows? I've been binging Snapped. I have been binge watching Snap like there is no tomorrow. I just love that show. I have to, I first of all, I cannot go to sleep and not be watching like a murder mystery. 2020 been having some good stuff too lately. All right, so and y'all don't forget to hit that name right there, Secrets Kitchen. Follow my Instagram, follow my YouTube, my Facebook. I think I just put my Snapchat on there. Finally, I gave y'all my Snapchat. It just took me about a year. Follow everything on there. Instagram. I think I got them all. Oh, my TikTok. My TikTok be kind of lit. Not really. I'm not that cool like some people are, but follow me anyway, motherfuckers. All right, let's get started. So, I am doing the Netflix documentary called Catching a Killer Nurse, which was then made into a movie on Netflix called The Good Nurse about a nurse named Charles Cullen. With over a 16-year span, he was basically just killing patients off. So, let's talk about Charles. Okay, so Charles was born Charles Edmund Cullen, February 22nd, there's 20, yeah, 1960. He graduated from nursing school. Sorry, y'all, I didn't do my research. He graduated from nursing school from Mountainside Hospital in 1987. And a fun fact about that, he was also the president of the nursing class for that year. He went into the field to help people, to just help people and save lives. That's why he went into the field of nursing. So after graduating nursing school in 1987, Charles gets married. He has two beautiful daughters, I'm sure. And he gets a job at Barnabas Medical Center in New Jersey, where he has his first victim. He gives the patient too much lidocaine. Look, y'all, I can't tell y'all what all this stuff is. Do your own research. I'm just a storyteller. Um, they have an lidocaine overdose. That's where he has his first victim. So I have these written down over a span of time. So before we get into the good part, he has worked at Barnabas Medical Center, Hunterdon Medical Center. What? Oh, okay, on here right. Momstown Medical Center, Liberty and Nursing Rehab Center, Lehigh Valley Hospital, Warren Hospital, Eastern Hospital, St. Luke's Hospital, and then Somerset Hospital, where shit's about to go down, okay? Because that's where really his killing streak comes to an end. So he gets hired at Somerset in March of 2003, and he becomes really great friends with these other two nurses, Amy and Donna. They call themselves the Three Musketeers. They actually speak very highly of Charles. You know, he was a great nurse. He was so helpful. He always had your back. He could keep a secret. They just really, really, really enjoyed the work experience with Charles. So things start to get a little rocky when Father Gall becomes admitted as a patient. He's a priest, Father Gall. Father Florian Gall. I want to get the victims' names right. Um, he calls his sister and he's like, "Hey, like I'm having kind of like a like a cough. You think you could take me to Somerset? Because I'm not feeling that well." And the reason they remember him so well is because Father Gall is there for a while. He's there for a while. And he starts getting better. He's moved from ICU, which is intensive care unit, to the CCU, the critical care unit, because his health is improving so much. And his sister is there with him every step of the way. She's there every step of the way. And all of a sudden he just dies, and everyone's kind of like, well, that's weird. Like, I thought he was doing okay. So, but no one's really thinking of it. People are just thinking that his health is declining. At least, or so we think. Because while this is going on, there are nurses calling the poison center saying, hey, I'm not sure what's going on, but like, I think that somebody is like giving people too much. The job, sound like Kingy. Digoxin, okay, digoxin, and the poison center is like, okay, yeah, he's listening. He's like, yeah, those results are kind of weird, because the thing about digoxin is it's for heart failure and heart problems, but too much of it can speed your heart up too fast, or like slow your heart rate down so slow like you die. You basically overdose on it. You can't have too much digoxin. So they're noticing a pattern, and the poison center is like, y'all know y'all got a murderer. Like, hello, I'm telling, like, that lab is not making sense. How are you not seeing this? And they get a few calls that the hospital just kind of sweeps under the rug. And so the poison center calls Somerset and goes, hey, we're just doing a follow-up call. Like, did you guys ever get to the bottom of that digoxin problem? And the hospital is kind of like, oh, yeah, about that. We're doing an investigation right now. Don't worry about it. We have everything under control. That's what the hospital is saying. They're like, okay. The poison center's like, all right, cool. Leave it at that. Now, 3 months later from that follow up, on October 3rd, the Somerset prosecutor notifies Somerset police. And it's like, okay, so we kind of want to, we think somebody's killing somebody at this hospital. There's a family that called. The death is random. They're not sure what's going on. And we need some answers. We think there is a nurse there killing patients. So the police are kind of like ordered to go to a meeting with the hospital, because the hospital has gotten wind that the police have been notified. And so now we meet detectives Tim and Danny. So Tim and Daniel are two detectives. Daniel's new to the squad. It's kind of like his first big case. He's the new on-call detective. And so he says when he goes into the meeting, it's a little intimidating. He can kind of tell all of these hospital administrators are very high-ranking people, and he's just kind of like, well, it's kind of weird. And one of the people in the meeting is risk manager Mary Lund. I'm just going to go ahead and give her 2 thumbs down now, because she's complete trash. But we'll get to that in a second. So they give the police officers this paperwork, and they're like, well, we don't really know what the hell this says, but we know it don't look right. So do us a favor. We understand you guys have an internal investigation going on. Give us the documents, give us our stuff, let us look over it. Let's see if there's any foul play, if there's any way we can assist you. So they think they're gonna get like this huge caseload, or at least like a big binder from the hospital, or a few binders. Well, the next day they receive a letter from the hospital's attorney, and they're like, okay, see, I didn't ask. Like, now they're just kind of like, okay, that's weird. And it's basically a letter saying, hey, they spoke with Charles Cullen. Like, they spoke with him because he was the nurse on duty that night, and they cleared him of any wrongdoing. It's like when the police investigate themselves, right? I investigated myself and I didn't do nothing wrong. Case closed. So that's basically what they do. Like, and they're like, Charles Cullen, what's that name? So they do a background check on Charles Cullen, and he has a few discrepancies in his past. And they're like, you know what? He got pulled over for drunk driving in Pennsylvania. Let me just call and see if anything is going on. So they call over, and then the clerk is like, hey, I found his file. It's not much in it besides his arrest, but I have a phone number, a sticky note of whoever's investigating him for contact information. So they're like, huh, okay. So they reach out to the police officer whose number is on the sticky note. And he's like, bruh, I'm investigating him too. Like, I think he's been stealing medicine from this other hospital. And they're like, uh-huh, yeah. It's getting a little warm in here. They feel like they coming on to something. And so then they kind of just start interviewing his, I can see the comments. Restart. Leaving comment. Or do your Wi-Fi. Yeah. So they start interviewing his family, and his family's like, oh, y'all are looking into him. Nobody is surprised. And that kind of takes detectives back too. They're like, family's pretty forthcoming with the information. They kind of find out that he abused family pets. He basically just abused animals. That's pretty much what they found out from the family. And they do feel like he's a little off anyway. So now we're gonna go back to Amy, the nurse, who was featured in the movie. They focus a lot on her like character. Bye. So sorry. Yeah, these kids. So Amy passes out at the nurse's station. She just passes out, and Charles is like, girl, are you okay? And she's like, got something to tell you. I have cardiomyopathy, which is a chronic heart disease where your heart it doesn't pump blood properly. So sometimes her heart is trying so hard to pump out blood, she can't she'll pass out. Like, if she said it feels like her heart is exploding out of her chest. Well, she doesn't think anything about it then, but Charles goes and gets some medicine from the Pyxis system that they have, and um he gives her a pill, and she's just taking it because she's not feeling well. And Charles is kind of like, hey, like, do you think we should take you to the ER? And she's like, no, because I don't want to lose my job. I need this job for health insurance. She has cardiomyopathy. Like, she needs to be able to have insurance to go see a doctor for her illness. That's basically what it boils down to. So Charles ends up just, I'm about to move the card already. Charles ends up just taking care of her that night, just kind of, taking care of her patients for her, all kind of things. So now we're keep in mind remember that story, okay? So now we're back to the police officers, and they are still finding out about abused animals, and they come across Warren County in New York about a case about a lady named Helen Dean. So Helen Dean was 91 years old when she was admitted to Warren Hospital. Her son Larry took her to the hospital, and she seems to be recovering pretty well. She was doing fine. She was about to be transferred to the rehabilitation center, and she was just doing fine, or whatever the case may be. So her son Larry is there every step of the way. They're very, very, very close knit. Well, Larry is sitting there with his mom, and Charles comes in and tells Harry that, like, hey, like, you have to leave. I have to, administer her or whatever. For whatever reason, he asked him to leave. So Larry steps out, and he hears his mom like scream like a loud ouch. And so he rushes back into the room. It's like, bro, like, what are you doing to my mother? And she's like, he just pricked me. So he has like a little magnifying glass and a Swiss knife, and he's checking his mom, and sure enough, there's like a prick on his mom's inner thigh. Charles is long gone. He done hauled ass out the room, like he ain't want no smoke. So at this time, Larry's like, stay away from my mom, I'm sure. And they still set her up to be transferred to a rehabilitation center where she can finish recovering. Larry goes home to get his mom's slippers for the center. 5 minutes after she arrives, 5 minutes after she arrives, they call Larry and tell him that his mom has passed. And Larry is like, immediately, he's like, that motherfucker did it. He killed my mom. He injected my mom with something, and as soon as like it just didn't make sense because she was already, recovering. So he goes to the prosecutor that night. I don't know if he's friends with the prosecutor for Warren County. He goes to the office that night and it's like, this person murdered my mom. Like, y'all need to do something about that. Like, somebody needs to do something. And unfortunately, they just don't have the proof. They just don't have the evidence. They test his mom. They do a toxicology report. And they just don't find anything. They test for everything you can think of except digoxin, because digoxin can be deadly, and there was just kind of no reason at the time for them to check for that, which is unfortunate. So after this happens, he admits himself to a psych ward. And I don't know how, but he's deemed ready to return to work. That's not, I don't understand it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Welcome to A Secret to Tell. I do this every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. True crime, ASMR, some delicious food. So today I need to tell you what I made. I made me like a little Cobb salad, but like kind of my version. I have eggs. I have chicken, mushrooms, tomatoes, and lettuce. Okay, and I have red wine vinaigrette on it. I love vinaigrettes on salads. Okay, so I'm just gonna take me a bite of this, and I love mushrooms too. Mmm. Mhm. This is really good. And y'all already know I use my yin yang seasoning. And I can't pick up no damn lettuce. mm. And them portobello mushrooms are so good and fresh. It's air fried. Air fried. And it tastes pretty darn good. I'm a little surprised. Mm-hmm. All right. Man, that was good. Mm. And that water gonna go. All right. Let's get back to it. Hey, everybody. All right. So now that he's been deemed ready to go back to work, my question is, who was hiring this man? Is nobody doing their research on this man? He worked at 9 hospitals, like at this point. So it's crazy. So the officers kind of feel like, well, we just don't have the evidence to arrest him. Like, you can arrest anyone from rumors and hearsay. So they're just kind of like stuck, and they're just like trying to just figure something out because they know what's going on. They just need to prove it, basically. So he's still working at Somerset. So he's still working at Somerset at this point, and the cops are just like, we need to figure something out because he is probably still killing people. So Amy and Donna, his friends, they're noticing that their lab results are looking a little funky. And they're like, all right, well, something's not right. And for some reason, they're asking Charles. He's just helping them out. Like, they thinking he's helping. He's like, oh no, this is the problem. This is the problem. So no one's really questioning it. Like, no one's really paying attention. Meanwhile, Tim and Danny, the detectives, are still over here trying to figure out their case because they're trying to charge this man. So they go to Mary Lund, who's the risk manager, the trash bag lady, because I can't stand her. They asked Mary Lund for more documentation on their internal investigation, and Mary goes, you know what? I would give you the documentation, but what happened was after we decided that he didn't do anything, we closed the case. And they're like, you closed the case? And you destroyed all the documents? They're like, yeah. Mary's like, sorry. I really wish I could help you, but I can't. So now they're really just getting desperate. They're like, we need to put something on this guy. So they call the poison center. Remember, there was people was calling the poison center already. So they call the poison center, and the guy is like, you must be calling about Somerset. And the detectives are like, what? How did you know? And the guy at the poison center is like, I've been trying to tell these niggas for months that somebody is murdering their patients, and they're not taking it serious. Like, they're calling, the lab results are not right. They're like, we told them they have a murderer in their hospital, and nobody is listening. No one's taking it serious at this point. And the cops are like, we'll be there in 15 minutes because we need to talk. The cops are like something is not right here. So they get to the poison center, and the chief doctor at the poison center, Dr. Martin, I think the other guy's name is Bruce, the employee, they have recorded phone calls with them talking to Mary Lund, the risk manager for Somerset Hospital, and they're telling her, if you have people that keep dying under these circumstances, you need to report this to authorities, or else whoever is doing this is gonna keep killing people. They're on the phone saying, hey, like, you don't want to be responsible if shit hits the fan. You need to figure out what's going on. Mary was like, you know what? Thanks for the opinion. She's basically like, thanks, but no thanks. We got it from here. Thanks for your input, though. Like, don't even worry about it. And Tim and Danny cannot believe it. They're just like, really? You're just as bad as him, because now it's looking like the hospital is covering everything up. Like, that's what it looks like. So now the detectives are really getting agitated, and they're starting to see there's more to this story than meets the eye. So they decide to go ahead and go to Pennsylvania, where he got arrested for drunk driving, and they meet up with that detective. And he's like, yeah, I know this lady named Pat, Nurse Pat, because at that hospital, he's being investigated as well because they think he killed a patient. Well, they know he killed a patient. So Nurse Pat, she noticed that when she was working, this is at St. Luke's Hospital, not Somerset. When he was working at St. Luke's Hospital, Pat notices that, like, people are dying a lot on his shift. Like, it's just not making sense. She's like, maybe one person a week, maybe one person every other week. She was like, it's like 1 to 2, 2 to 3 people. Like, the numbers in the statistics just are not making sense to her. So she goes to her supervisor, and she's like, I think he's killing people. And the health manager's like, no, he's not. He ain't killing nobody. So she has a favorite patient named Sam. And Sam is really, really dear to her. He's there for a while. He comes in not being able to talk. When he is finally able to talk, he tells Pat that he loves her. He sings, you are my sunshine to her. You know, she really, really becomes attached to the patient. No. She just becomes attached to the patient. And they just get close. And one night, Pat is off, and Charlie has to watch Sam. And when Charlie is on the shift, Sam dies. And Pat was like, she was like, I know he kills him. I know he kills him because there's no way he's been under my watch this entire time. The one time I take a night off and he's dead, it just didn't make sense to her. So she goes to her manager again. She's like, I know for a fact he is here killing people. This is not making sense. She's literally saying it. And they go, no, he's not. She says that she goes home that night and she just cries. She just cries while she's driving home. She's devastated because she's feeling like I'm screaming this man is killing someone and no one is listening to me. So she has a friend that's a police captain and she just informs him of what's going on. So they open up a mini investigation. Of course, St. Luke Hospital is notified. And then the CEO basically calls a huge meeting of nurses, and here we go again. We did an investigation on ourselves, and Charles didn't do it. We said it. You know what I'm talking about? It was like, what? How do you keep investigating yourself? If I investigate myself, guess what? I ain't gonna think I did anything wrong either. And then there starts being rumors around the hospital because apparently St. Luke's is looking for funding to build a new building to add to the hospital. And they have to report any lawsuits that's part of funding. So basically they just saving face. They don't want to deal with the problem and they need the funding. They want to buy the new building. And guess what? Charles just quietly resigns. They tell him, hey, it's kind of a little much for the pressure. You can always use this as a reference, but we think it's just best if you resign. And that's what he does, and that's mind-boggling to me. He can use you as a but whatever. Pat is just infuriated at this point. She's like, you know what? She's living, honestly, as she should be. She should be very upset because this is a lot. It's crazy. So, move on to the next part. So now that he resigns, he's finally able to start a new job. But now, Tim and Dan, the detectives, they're kind of finally able to start piecing things together. They're slowly but surely, because this is working slow, finding a pattern. They just still don't have quite enough evidence, and they can't issue a warrant without enough evidence. So they're still scrambling, trying to find things, digging and trying. So now they're interested in this Pyxis machine. A Pyxis machine, I'm not a nurse, this is just what I saw and read. The Pyxis machine distributes medication. So apparently there's a glitch in the system of the Pyxis machine. If you hit cancel at another time, at a certain amount of time, the drawer still opens, you just close it back. So he's making cancellations and closing back the drawer. So it's canceling, but he's still taking the digoxin out, if that makes sense. So they go over to Mary Lund and they're like, we need those Pyxis results. She's like, hey, you know what? I wish I could, but after 30 days, all the information delete. Sorry, can't help you, sir. And they're like, after 30, what? Okay, you know what? Fine. We're going to call the manufacturer and see if we can get it from them. The phone representative is like, what do you mean 30 days? That's technology. It stores as what? That's not true. So now the detectives are like, okay, now this bitch is playing with us. They're getting upset. They go back to Somerset and they're like, look, you can give us the information or we can have we can have the FBI take this damn machine and we can pull all the data we need from there. You make the decision. And she basically goes, you know what? Oh gosh, damn, let's make a call. Let me make a phone call. And so she makes a phone call and boom, voila, she's able to provide them with the information. So now that they realize that they're playing games, they're really getting worried because if the hospital's not helping them build a case, how are they going to build a case and get this man out of there? Because honestly, he needs to get out of there. So now they do that and they get the info. Charles is all up in the system. Like his name is everywhere. Cancellations, pulling this out, pulling like all these deadly medications, and they're like, but it's still not enough. Like it's just still not enough. So he ends up. Well, basically, this is what happens. Once they figure out that he's getting all the information or the medications, I'm sorry, not information, the cops are like, look, y'all, he cannot work there. Like, he's going to keep killing people. Like, what are y'all going to do about it? So, in order to get him out of the hospital, they come up with this idea. They just check his application and they see he did a date wrong of an employment period. So they fire him due to a employment discrepancy. They're able to get rid of him that way. And he's like, so y'all finna, okay. He leaves. Now, Amy and Donna, his friends, are like, what? Like, that's bullshit. He's such an amazing nurse. Why would you fire him over something so small? They still, like, really don't know what's going on. So, Amy and Donna are shocked, and it's just like, ugh, ladies, pay attention. I need somebody to pay attention or whatever. So, Amy calls to check on him, and she's like, well, baby, what happened? And he's like, yeah, I kind of got fired because, the dates were wrong. Oops, my bad. And she's like, they fired you because of that? And he's like, yeah. And she's kind of on edge now because now the nurses are thinking like health administrators are out to get them. They really have no idea what's going on because the administrators are keeping this investigation on the hush hush. So after he leaves the hospital, they are able to go in and interview the nurses without, him being there, the intimidation. Well, they can interview the nurses all right, but under one little premise. Guess what it is? Mary Lund, the trash ass risk manager, has to be in the room while she's interviewing the nurses. Which this is just an intimidation tactic because the nurses are scared as hell of Mary Lund. She's coaching them before they go speak. She's telling them, oh, it's just a regular question. Like, everything's fine. Just answer their questions and get in and get out, but don't say too much. She's just basically coaching them on what to say to the police. So they're basically getting nowhere with Mary Lund in the building. They're not getting anywhere. So that's just infuriating in itself, I'm sure, as a detective. So Amy, his friend, she happens to be the last person that is interviewed. And something happens and Mary has to leave the interview room. Thank you. And so they kind of just look at Mary and they're like, he slides a little paper over Detective Danny. And he's like, what do you see when you look at this? Because Amy is in there saying, this is bullshit. He's an amazing nurse. I don't know why I'm here talking to y'all. But when Mary Lund leaves and they slide the paper to her and she sees what's going on, she's like, oh, I see what you meant. Yeah, because this sheet, it's like, she was like, the page looked sinister. Her exact words. Like, it was sinister. You could literally tell that it was something wrong. It was something going on. Like, you could just immediately see it, which is crazy. So the detective kind of mouths like, will you help me? And she's like, yeah, I'm not sure. So they're like, okay, look at this. And they give her the Pyxis paper. And she's like, oh, wow. She couldn't believe the amount of cancellations that were there. So She decides, you know what, I think I'm gonna help. She replays in her mind an incident when she went into a room who was having cold blue, and Charles was in there giving the patient lidocaine. And so they're trying to save the patient, and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm giving her lidocaine. Mind you, the patient is dying. So when the doctor comes in, he's like, who gave the patient lidocaine? Amy takes the blame for it. She's like, I'm the, nurse manager. I'm in charge of everybody. It's my shift. I'm the lead. She lies and tells the doctor that she administered Charles to give lidocaine. The doctor looks her in the face and says, this patient is allergic to lidocaine. Now she's sitting there looking stupid because she was over here trying to have his back, and she just kind of remembers that moment and realizes, like, because the patient ended up dying, and she's like, he really just murdered somebody in my face. And it didn't click to her until she saw the Pyxis sheet. Now, before we move on, let me welcome y'all to A Secret to Tell. I do this every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because Eastern is word. I got some good food, a good true crime story. We do ASMR and mukbang. Make sure y'all follow me on my social media accounts: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat. All of the links are located when you click my name. Okay, and I made this really amazing chicken Cobb salad. I'm just gonna take a bite of it. It's actually really good too. Okay. Oh my god, it was so good. Yo, y'all, for real, y'all need to get you one of these. It's a chicken salad on 81st and for real, y'all. This shit is fine. It's so good. And these mushrooms are so fresh. Mm. 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 Oh my god. I'm a little hungry if y'all can't tell. No, I ain't get like this eating salads. I'm thirsty. Let me put some more water in here. Is it hot in here? It's just me, sugar. I'm trying to have water on my food now. Alright, let's get back to it, to the show. Now, she decides that she's going to help the police. Because now she's seeing the pattern. And she really didn't want to believe it, but she's just kind of seeing it for what it is, right? So now the patient dies. She decides to go tell their other friend Donna. And Amy and Donna are like, what the hell do you mean? Like, once she explains to Donna what's going on, like, they can't believe it. They're just in shock because, like, he just seemed like a nice person. And the cops, and she just kind of tells her she's going to help the cops because the cops can't read the jargon, the medical jargon, or the medical lingo. It's not clicking for them. So they really, really need Amy to help them understand the spreadsheets and what does this mean and what does that mean and what does that mean, like all of those things, right? So first thing Amy says is, this is a lot of digoxin. Oh, sorry, y'all. She's like, there's a lot of digoxin going on. Like, these cancellations are ridiculous. Something's going on. Like, she still can't believe it. She's like, he's still taking the medicine out. And she's remembering times that she saw him do it and everything. So the cops go to Mary's house, and lo and behold, as soon as they get there, she gets a call from Mary Lund advising her, you probably shouldn't talk to the cops without any representation. Basically saying, baby, if I'm not there, please don't talk to them people. Do not talk to the people if I'm not there. So now Amy is so scared. She's like, oh, Lord, that nigga giving me heartburn, child. So now Amy is scared because she wants to help, but she doesn't want to lose her job because remember, she has cardiomyopathy and she needs the insurance. Like, she needs this stability. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the thing for her. So she decides that she's going to talk to her daughter about her helping the police officers. And her daughter is 11 years old. And her daughter is like, Mom, if he's a killer, put him in jail. And how sad is that the 11-year-old has more sense than Mary Lund, the risk manager, who's in charge of people's lives. An 11-year-old even thinks it's bullshit. So she decides, yes, she's going to help. But she kind of feels bad because they are friends, and she kind of feels like she's betraying him a little bit. And she feels guilty. She keeps just trying to constantly remind herself, like, he's destroying people's lives and he's killing people. He's a murderer. So Amy is like, where are the Cerner charts? They're like, what's the Cerner chart? Because they don't know. She's like, you don't have his patient's records? That's how you could tie him in, duh. And they're like, oh, how do we get that? Amy is sneaking during her shift. She is sneaking during her shift and printing out all of Charles' patient records, which she could get fired for, but she's like, look, we got to catch this man. We got to find something on him. So she's looking over the thing, and it's the same thing, just discrepancies everywhere. And she's like, oh my gosh. So now the detectives are getting excited because they're like, now we are getting somewhere. We are moving somewhere. And she's like, you know what? What about Father Gall? He was on, Father Gall was there on a shift or whatever the case may be. He was there when he died. And they're like, huh, okay. They go to Father Gall's sister. Remember, that's the priest that went in that was recovering. Then all of a sudden he died. They ask his sister if they can exhume the body. And of course, the sister says yes. They find a large amount of digoxin in his system. A huge amount of digoxin in his system, okay? And they're like, boom, we got him. They're able to tie it to him with the Pyxis and the Cerner and the autopsy. So they moved it from natural causes to a homicide. But the hospital said it was natural causes. I'm really freaking sick of these hospitals right now. Meanwhile, Charlie's calling Amy like, hey, girl, I'm about to start a new job. They're like, fuck. like, what? He want to do what? He's like, yeah, I started a new job soon. I got hired at another hospital, another facility. And I'm like, this is driving me insane. It's driving me insane. So they kind of tried to get him before he goes to the new job. They put a wire on Amy and have her go sit and talk with him. But the audio goes out during their conversation in the diner. The audio just goes bad, so they didn't get any information. So they're like, we do not want this man to kill any more people. They confront him and they bring him in. And Amy kind of tells him at the diner, she tells him, hey, like, I kind of know everything. And she said he goes pale, face changes. But like I said, the audio went out. They didn't get it. So they just bring him in anyway and arrest him for the murder of Father Gall because they have the proof. And he's just like, he's in the interrogation room. So there's a scene in the movie where he says, I can't. He really does say that in real life. And he's in the interrogation room and he's curling up in fetal position. And they're like, dude, are you going to tell us or not? And he's like, I ain't telling you nothing. So now they're just like, we're screwed. If he lawyers up, like, we're almost there, but he's not talking. So like, you know what? Let's bring Amy in. Let's bring Amy in. They bring Amy in to talk to him, and Amy lies to him and says, hey, like, they're trying to implicate me in this. Like, you need to speak up. Like, if there's something going on, I still love you either way. I'm always going to be your friend, but I don't want to get in trouble. So he decides, yeah, I don't want my friend to get in any trouble, so I'm going to go ahead and tell everything. He ends up admitting to the murder of Father Gall. He ends up admitting it to the police. And they're like, finally, it happened to me. You know, that kind of thing. I'm sure that's the dance they was doing. I wasn't there, but if it was, I'm pretty sure that's how it happened. They're like, we got this man. We got him. Like, all this work, he finally confessed. And I'm sure everyone's like, we have been telling y'all this and y'all wasn't listening. They wasn't ready for Charles Cullen, though, because when he spilled the beans, he spilled all of the beans. They was like, and what? And then you did what? And then you did what? They just can't believe it. They're like, this is insane. So he's like, he couldn't stop. He didn't want people to suffer, which is bullshit because you didn't work in a hospice. So what are you talking about? And you were killing people that were doing fine. Which brings us to this point. They're like, well, how did you do it? He is putting insulin, digoxin, clear liquids in the morphine bags. He's filling them up with insulin and digoxin. So when the nurses go, it's this huge bin of morphine bags. The nurses are randomly just picking up the bags and distributing them to the rooms, not knowing that they're poisoning people, not knowing that they're killing people because they think it's just a regular morphine drip. That's all they think it is. So now that makes Amy even more frustrated because she's actually physically there watching the interview and she just can't believe it. She's like, I was distributing those bags. Other nurses were distributing those bags. Like, we was helping this nigga and we didn't even know it. And like, just insane. It's just so sad. But he's in there. He feels bad for his kids and he feels the pressures of life. Boo. Tomato. I feel pressure too. Okay? You don't see me running around here killing folks. I'm doing 25 to life in my head, but not in real life. So I don't even care about that, Charles. You're just complete garbage. Who cares? And if you care about your kids so much, don't kill people and go to prison for the rest of your life, jackass. I get really emotional about these cases. Sorry, y'all. So he admits to doing the whole bag thing, and like I said, Amy was shocked. Just drives me nuts. So now we go back to, remember the first lady that reported him and they didn't do anything about it? Well, she tells a story where he was using, I can't pronounce this word, vecuronium. Vecuronium is a paralytic. So he's injecting you with vecuronium, right? Basically, your whole body paralyzes. You can't blink, you can't breathe, you can't talk, you can't move, but you're fully aware of what's going on, and you're slowly dying. Your eyes are wide open, you just can't move, but you can fit. What? Like, just cruel. He's just so cruel. Could you imagine somebody like, you can feel yourself dying, but you can't blink, move, like, you can't. What bad? I'm getting so emotional. I'm knocking over the microphone. Charles gonna be mad. So now the news gets wind of it. Everybody's like, what the hell? Like, now everyone's like, hello, Somerset, like, what's going on? And Somerset is, of course, denying everything. So Charles goes to court, basically. He doesn't show much emotion, and the families have a chance to do their victim impact statements with him. And there is, like, just to hear them talk just makes me sad, because they're like, you took away my heart, my soul. This person was a great person. Like, you have no reason for doing what you did. It's ridiculous. And he just doesn't say anything. He can barely look the families in the eye. Of course you can't look them in the eye. So he takes what's called a global plea deal agreement to avoid the death penalty as long as he cooperates with the investigation, which he does. Okay, so he gets about sorry y'all, he gets 18 consecutive life sentences. I think he's up for parole like 2,403. That's when he's up for parole in 2403. Yeah, he got a little minute before he could get up to the parole board. So of course the people are like questioning the hospital now, and the hospital is trying to take credit for him being arrested. Y'all didn't even want to help the detectives, y'all. Sorry, y'all. Y'all withheld information. Like, just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. It's really unbelievable. So he basically admitted to killing 29 people, but because he was doing this for 16 years, they think maybe it's over 400 altogether. Dumb people got promotions because, they help. But you know how saving face, politics, all that stuff. So in 2003, when he was arrested, the hospitals got together, New Jersey and other ones, Somerset included. They passed what's called the Cullen Law. So basically, every time you hire someone at your facility, you have to disclose all of their discrepancies, their mental capacity, everything about them. Keep it and send it to the next employer for when they go somewhere else. So, which I think is great, but it took you a while to do that. And obviously, the hospitals are not taking responsibility for what happened. All 9 hospitals, nobody was ever sued. I'm sure they reached some settlements, though. I'm sure they just signed some NDAs. I'm sure of that. After I found out that, I would have sued. So I'm sure they just did a lot of NDAs. All 9 hospitals, like I said, they just didn't take responsibility. They said they didn't do anything wrong. Whoops. So now to the question part. Would you have sued the hospital if you would have found out? I would have. I definitely would have sued. There's no question about it. Agree. Agree. And would you have done what Amy did? Would you have helped the police take him down? I would have. Y'all know what I'm telling. I'm a telltale. Mm. And also, that's a long time, man. That's a long time. 2,403 parole? Kill him. Just kill me. Don't even do me like that. Well, thank y'all so much for watching. That's pretty much the end of my show. I hope y'all enjoy my story. Thank you so much for tuning in to A Secrets Kitchen. Did I say A Secrets Kitchen? That's not the name of the show. The name of the show is A Secret to Tell. Thank you for tuning in to A Secret to Tell. I do this every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because Eastern is a word. ASMR, true crime, mukbang. Y'all make sure y'all hit me with that fave. Thank y'all for the love and support. Also, follow my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, everything. Just follow me. Why would you not want to follow me? Like, I'm a big ball of fucking fun, okay? Thank y'all for tuning in, and I will definitely see y'all next week. Peace. Actually, y'all want to drink? Y'all want to hop in the box and do a little? Because I do.